Hello, and welcome to Hatch Impact Lab Global Classroom Model. We're hoping to have students from across the nation engage in design sprints centered around systemic problems and designing solutions for those problems. But really, mainly what we're looking at is we're looking at getting these students from around the nation, maybe even from other countries, to connect and engage in community and really get to know each other, kind of getting out of their for many of them from their segregated communities and segregated schools, and really engaging with other students from different nationalities, from different ethnicities, and from different social economic status, so that we can really develop our students into global citizens. So with that said, let's take a look at what we have. We have a unit plan for secondary education centered around these design sprints. We're going to take a look at a little bit more of that in detail, but let's just go through a little bit of what we're going to be looking at. So we do have a sprint timeline with benchmarks. We also have a specific unit plan, which engages two different areas of the design sprint. One is inside the classroom, and the other is as part of the actual design sprint online. We also have worksheets that are for remote learning as well as for in the classroom. Looking at those, here's an example of one of the worksheets that the students would be filling out independently as well as together as a collaborative team. We have exemplars of those worksheets from a real design sprint that students engaged in. And so with that said and done, let's take a look at this in detail. Okay, we're going to start with Hatch Impact Lab Global Classroom Model Description. I'm going to read the description because it really gives us the essence of our Hatch Impact Labs for the classroom. Hatch Impact Labs for secondary education merge project-based learning with global classroom models following the neuroscience of information processing stages: input, collaboration, elaboration, and application. And you can see more of that. This is taken from the Culturally Responsive Teaching and the Brain by Hammond, 2014. As such, students conduct in-class information gathering research to be applied to in-class or remote 90-minute collaborative group design sprint labs on systemic problems affecting the students and their communities. Hatch provides the remote online platform to team the students into diverse global groups from across the nation and to pair the teams up with 1 to 3 renowned mentors on each team. Hatch Impact Labs may be integrated singularly into core subjects such as English language arts, history, and the sciences, or may be used as a multidisciplinary integrated curriculum for students to make meaningful connections across all subject areas. So let's take a look at the benchmarks. We're looking at a 7-week model, but this can also be extended to a 13-week model, depending upon the agreement of the schools. Well, we come over here to the first one. We're looking at really understanding. Week 1 is really about understanding the teammates and really understanding each other, getting to know each other, and then teaming up and then understanding the challenge, as in what is the systemic problem that they're going to form a design solution around. Moving into week 3, really defining the challenge and looking at it from multiple perspectives, from multiple stakeholder perspectives. Then moving up to distilling and refining, really refining their challenge statement and coming up with a solution, as well as a 4-step sketch process. Moving down to mapping the prototype in week 5. Looking at what is the best solution based on impact as well as effort, and refining that solution. Building a blueprint, looking at creating a pitch presentation, as well as a slideshow presentation. And then in week 7, presenting their design. So let's take a look at the different elements of the actual unit plan. So unit plan, again, we're looking at 7 weeks to 13 weeks, 7 weeks, if you're conducting 2 to 3 sessions per week. And when I say sessions, I mean if you're conducting one in school research and design, and then the other would be the actual design sprint. So that, or if you're just doing this once per week, then it extends to 13 weeks. What's our goal? Collaboratively, students design impactful solutions for systemic problems by conducting research and forming diverse partnerships. Once again, diversity is the key here. Really try to help our students to grow as global citizens, to alleviate much of the stress that the world's under right now. The lab format, the lab is divided into 2 sections. You have the classwork section and you have the design sprint session. The classwork session is supported by independent learning, but also it's supported independent learning because the teacher is there to support and help. The design sprint session is actually online, and let's take a look. The 2 sessions as a whole follow the neuroscience information processing stages from culturally responsive teaching in the brain, as I said earlier. Stage 1 is input. The brain decides on which information is important. Stage 2, elaboration. The brain makes information memorable and meaningful. Stage 3, you have the application stage, where the brain applies new knowledge through real-life application and expanding the capacity of the working memory, leading students' ability to do higher order tasks. We do have exemplars. Exemplars, as I showed earlier, we call these impact sheets. They're actually worksheets. And the exemplars was actually is actually a design sprint, a real design sprint that my students went through when they successfully removed city blight by getting a full district cleanup for Los Angeles City District 8. Let's take a look at let's go into details on the actual format of the unit. Okay. As you can see over here, we're into our first benchmark area of understanding the challenge or systemic problem. We have Common Core standards for English, we have Common Core standards for history, and Common Core standards for the sciences. Taking a look at our first section, this is the classwork. This is the what they do in the class. So students will and you'll have your goals right here, your objectives. Students will each research and annotate an article on the unit's theme, but the articles may be assigned by teachers. So basically, each school would determine what the students are going to do, whether they're going to research and find an article by themselves, or if the teacher is going to bring one in. This is stage 1 for input. And then moving to the second objective, students will complete a define the challenge worksheet based on the article. And this is the elaboration stage. So basically taking their information from their research and their annotations and pulling it into a worksheet. Then that classwork, that class is done, and then it moves into the second stage, which is the design sprint stage. So you have design sprint number 1 here, and this would be online and Hatch facilitated. So students will synthesize define the challenge worksheet into one challenge definition worksheet. So basically, they're all bringing in their worksheets together, and then together they're collaboratively deciding what needs to be in a synthesized worksheet. And that would be considered stage 3 application. The second objective would be assign members to research key assisters and resistor stakeholders to fill any knowledge gaps. So, we don't want to just depend on them finding a limited amount of articles and developing their understanding of the problem based on the articles. Really want them to now go out and research key assisters and resistors stakeholders. And this would be part of their classwork next in Impact Lab 2. We have guiding questions, as you can see over here. How might you define the challenge, and what and who are the key stakeholders in the challenge? As well as we have our concrete outcome. They will have created a define the challenge worksheet. We move over looking at the worksheets. So as you just saw, this is defining the challenge. Each student would be defining the challenge on their own based on their research, and then they would come together and collaboratively synthesize their information into this define the challenge worksheet. You can take a look. We have the questions, and they'd be putting their answers right over here. What is the challenge, and what does it look like? Who is being affected by this challenge, and how are they being affected? What social and or cultural factors shape this challenge? Who are the assisters and resistors to solving this challenge? And how might you rephrase the challenge into a how might we challenge statement? So once again, we have a second worksheet for Lab 1. That's where they would be identifying the key stakeholders. They would identify whether they're assisters or resistors. They would then assign a group member to research the key stakeholders. And then this section right here would be homework. Sorry, not homework, would be classwork. Okay, taking a look at the exemplar. So each one comes with an exemplar to help the students understand the detail that we're looking for. So as I said earlier, this is a real one that my students went through. Los Angeles City District 8 is full of blight. There are soiled couches and trash dumped on residential sidewalks. There are piles of dirt, really just showing the detail that we're hoping the students will come up with, especially in their synthesized version of this worksheet. And then eventually they will have come over here, and in the Lab 2, they will have chosen the best how might we statements, and they'll be moving that forward into the next lab. And here's an example of the exemplar of the second worksheet. As you can see, we have a diverse stakeholders, and really trying to help them to not just find stakeholders that are assisting the solving of the issue, but really trying to also find some resistors that are preventing the solution from happening. And you can see right over here, they have assigned each other to actually research this during class time. And then, as you can see, we move into Lab 2, and then you see the classwork right over here again. And this is part of defining the challenge benchmark. And students will research one article or narrative on their assigned stakeholders and annotate the text. Again, this could be teacher selected, or if you have time for the students to actually research and find an article. Also, students will produce a 2-minute presentation of their researched process, and that's part of the elaboration. And then when they move into the design sprint area, so once again, classwork is done in the classroom, whether it's remotely in the classroom or if your students actually get to sit together in a classroom, this would be done in the classroom. The design sprint time, again, this would be remotely through Hatch, and students will present their stakeholder research. This is the application stage. Students will select three how might we challenge statements. Next, they will create a long-term goal using the top how might we statements, and they'll be using that through a lightning voting rounds, as well as discussing and refining the winning goals wording. And then finally, they will analyze 6 conditions of systems change, and that's going back into the input stage. We look at the guiding questions. How might we challenge statements best reframe the challenge? And what long-term goal may be created from the challenge definition, stakeholder research, and the how might we questions. So I really like that. They've already done 3 different things. They're coming in with 3 different. They're coming in with the challenge definition. They're coming in with the stakeholder research, and they're coming in with the how might we statement, and really merging those together to create the long-term goal. The concrete outcomes, again, is a worksheet, and they come in with a long-term goal. So what we have for you is we have standards connected to what they're going to be doing. We have the class's objective, what should be done by the end of each class, and then we have really objective as well as processes for the actual design sprint. Okay, let's go ahead and scroll ahead and just take a look at some of the other impact labs as they go through. Here's design impact sheets, exemplars. Again, the lab 3 with the classwork and design sprint, and more impact sheets as well as exemplars. We also expect to have videos of the video instructions for the design sprint online sections, like for example. And moving over, we now go to voting on best prototype. And so now we're looking at the overall prototype. Each member is going to go and copy and paste the green check. Each member has 2 votes again, and they'll be putting those green checks in next to the member's name of the prototype that they like the best. They might not like all steps. They might like most of the steps and therefore vote on it, because you're going to have a little chance to refine later. Let's take a look at what that looks like. If I move down to our exemplar, okay, you can see you see the votes here. You can see the winner, Min, was the winner of this because everyone voted, and you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 people, and you should have 12 votes. Okay, let's move back over. Okay, once you have a winner, now it's time to refine the prototype steps. So okay, so you get an idea basically of the instructional videos. We may even have some examples of the collaboration. So we just move over to this next one, and let's take a look.
Down, left, right.
Up, up, up.
Anyone else?
Up, up, up.
Bob, you got to say it out loud. I can't see the.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
So I would go up a half
Up.
inch and to the right a quarter of an inch.
Great. So past examples of our of what we did. This was not the global classroom. This was actually a merging of gens as well as next gens and collaborating on the exact same thing that we're proposing for these classrooms. All right, and that takes us to the final of this this video. Just really what we're looking at is getting schools together to be able to integrate students from across the nation as well as possibly the world. And we're looking forward to figuring out, connecting the schools together and then having them figure out, just to what extent that they possibly can do these global classroom models, whether it's the prototype's going to be maybe just one classroom from each school, or whether it's going to be a larger prototype. but I guess that's going to depend on time zones and student availability, as well as teacher and classroom space. So really look forward to seeing some of you and collaborating with you to get our students to be more global citizens. And I'll turn it over to Yarrow and Hatch.